Well, folks, we appreciate y'all being here, being timely. We're going to start right on the dot here, and we know some others are going to straggle in. But you know how we start this, giving you some ideas to think about before we go. I won't belabor the point, but we'll start off with wins. It's important in what we do to emphasize what's going well, what good things are happening along the way, and then spend the rest of our time getting into the weeds of opportunities for growth. So in the second portion of the call, we'll be having an opportunity to ask questions to the group, not only all of our Redmond growth coaches, but also to other clients, guys that may be able to give you answers on stuff that is a little bit more nuanced. So be thinking about those questions, and then it looks like we got you ready to start here with some wins. I can't remember your name. I think it's Mike. Pete. Dang it.
Pete Rose.
Sorry,
Sorry.
Pete.
I need to figure out how to change that name on there, but we had a couple of wins this week. We're finalizing the process of hiring a new project manager, which is huge. We had our new reviews keep on coming in. I think we added 10 or 12 this week. That was awesome. And our estimating process is working, and it's so much easier and timely. We've received 2 acceptances of that with the new pricing, and we start 2 new bathrooms Monday because of it.
All right, Pete, stacking up those wins, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
That is awesome. When you say the estimating process, what all does that involve right now?
So,
what are the changes?
So before it was really time consuming, and we didn't have a real solid template to follow. Now we have templates to follow. We have a more effective method of communications with it. It's a lot more. It saves us a lot of money in it, and it also creates new room for more profit. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Pete.
Excited.
Yeah, that's a lot of good wins. Fernando, what you got?
Just a couple good wins. This week, my buddy Anthony, my business partner, he's in Mexico having a good old time, and everything's still functioning. Things are running good, and we're already booked out for next week completely. So yeah, it's just going really well. We're gonna buy 2 new trucks. And last year we were struggling. We didn't have Redmond growth last year. We were like I think last meeting one of the wins was that we 10x'd last month in September. So we were like drowning. Like we were considering like, dang, are we gonna be able to make it? Yada yada yada. But this time we have a really healthy account. We're prepared for if there is a slow season. We're prepared to keep our guys busy. We were able to easily, 2 trucks isn't going to be it's not going to hurt us, and we're prepared for it. So we're like just in a whole better position. We're not stressing. I know when it's slow season and the account's drying up, it can be pretty stressful and kind of scary, but we prepared. If there is a famine, we're ready for it. So it's just, I guess, a win that I'm really grateful for.
Wow. That's awesome, Fernando. Yeah, Lance properly identified it. Nicole's going to have to send you your gift card, gift basket later. That's awesome, Fernando. Yeah. I'm curious, you said you're preparing you prepared better for the dry season or the slow season. What did that look like? How is it different this year?
So one of the things that we did is, instead of us, one of the mistakes that we did was we would have all this money in the account and we would be like, man, we can pay ourselves, X amount of dollars and just keep paying bonuses out, and just kind of, instead of putting it back into the company and just finding a consistent amount to pay our bills. We still lived good. It's not like we were living off, $500 a week, but we found a good number that we could pay ourselves consistently, and all the money that came in, we just began to stack it. And it's better to have that peace of mind. I think, like, we have a healthy account, than just our pockets being filled, because now we can, it's just a healthy account.
Wow. Cool. Thanks for sharing, Fernando. Yeah, there's stuff we can definitely say on that, but I really appreciate that kind of different mentality, and I'll let your words speak for themselves. So thanks for sharing, man. Any other wins? Any other good things going on out here with in your businesses or personal? We'll celebrate them all.
I got one.
Come on, Jordan.
So, Travis, I'm sorry I didn't save this for just you and me, so that intimacy isn't there. But we talked, we talked earlier this week, and I was going to hire a new kid from the College of Applied Technology here in Tennessee, and he said he was going to go a different route because he thought he wanted to go more commercial. And literally 2 days later, he called me and he was like, "Hey, is that opportunity still available?" He said, "I felt really misled, and there's no way where I started is going to work out." And so he's coming on. He just came on with us this morning. He's a brand new kid. So that was pretty exciting. And I think he's going to be a really good fit for our shop. So really excited about that.
Nice. Awesome, Jordan. That is good. Any other wins you guys got going on this week? Good things we can celebrate together.
I have a win.
My Chiefs are 5-0.
Come on, we got two. Chiefs 5-0. Nice. I think 3 people popped in here: Chris, Rick, and Sean. So we'll go that order. Chris, you want to start off?
Yeah, it's kind of a long time win. Bryce already knows this, but back in February, we hired a couple of new guys to add to the team, and Bryce was part of that transition of hiring new guys. And one of them was just a runner for our company. We're big enough that we kind of have just guys that just run around and get materials and stuff like that. So, and with the hope that he would eventually develop, into a project manager type of thing. And we've developed him through Redmond Gross Consulting and stuff like that, and he's really come a long ways. He's right now, all he needs is barely to check in, and he's doing his own thing, running his own jobs, taking control of all the change orders, doing the sales process for new jobs, quoting jobs. He's kind of just come full circle, and just, he's relatively young. He's 27, and he's kind of just come full circle and just hit the ground running. Loves the incentive structure that Redmond Growth has, moved us towards. He loves that compensation package. So he's just really, really good, really exciting times for the growth that he developed into an actual project manager in just, was that 7 months or so, 8 months or so. So, and with no experience, actually came with 0 construction experience. He just came with an eagerness to learn. He came from the telecommunications industry in sales, and he just came into the construction industry and just grabbed the bull by the horns and went at it, and is just running things, and it's super exciting. It'll be really good for this next year. And this morning we contracted our first 2025 job. So
all right. Yeah, that's awesome, Chris. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I remember, just to add a little bit of flavor or context here, I think it was maybe 4 months ago, you were saying, hey, this guy needs another year before we can really get him to a spot where we can do that. But created a few systems, made incentive structure to kind of checks and balances. And he's really, like you said, taking it and run with it, which doesn't always happen, to be fair. But, really glad that worked well in this situation. Rick, go ahead. What you got?
Good morning, everybody. So a couple weeks ago, Scott was asking about, what happens when you've got a guy that you want to keep, but then there's another company that's just paying them, just like blowing your prices out of the water as far as their pay. And so it rocked on, and Scott was able to finesse it to where we get to keep this guy, and we're not chasing, throwing money at him, but we was able to keep him, and he wants to be here. But a young guy, first, second year apprentice with a baby and then a baby on the way, $6 an hour raise looked great to him. So he was going, but we was able to help him out and give him a little bit of a raise, and he's staying with us. So hopefully he'll retire with us. Hopefully.
Wow.
That's awesome, Rick.
Yeah. So good to hear a follow-up on that too. I'm curious.
Yes.
So, Scott or Rick, if either one of you can kind of speak to a little bit what you mean by he kind of finessed it. Is that specific to your situation or something we might all learn from a little bit?
Well, he lives about 35, 40 minutes away from our office. And the job that he was going to get was like 15 minutes down the road. So he's almost at the point that we can send him in his own truck and do some service calls. And we actually had to let another guy go. And so that opened up a truck for us. And so we gave him this truck, said, hey, we'll pay for the truck. And I'm not sure what Scott gave him, but maybe $1 an hour raise. And, the truck deal was big because they've only got one car. So, he would drive his car to work every day. And then it left his wife and baby with not being able to go nowhere until, he gets home. And so now that gives his wife the car. We keep a good guy, and he's real close to being able to be sent out on, the ability to be able to go on jobs and do service calls. So we would have been giving him a truck before too long anyway. We just made it happen a little bit sooner, and he's happy.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that detail, Rick. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think something that's true in that we've talked about before too is if you are able to find ways to align your employees' personal life goals with the company's goals as well, that builds long-term loyalty and I don't have a good word for it, but like togetherness, bonding in with the company. Incentives that are just dollar amounts are not the most valuable incentives to people. If you find stuff like this truck situation or I don't know, it could have been any number of things, but how it aligns with their life goals. Scott, I'll let you chime in because.
Well, I was going to just chime in real quick and say he's probably really appreciating his decision right now because his wife is having an emergency with her pregnancy.
Oh, no.
And he's having to miss work in these last 3 days, which would be, you never know how a new company is going to react. You coming in and all of a sudden you're not showing up for 3 days. So I just imagine he's pretty happy with his decision right now.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Absolutely. And that's one of those benefits when you guys are thinking like, I don't have benefits like the big companies do. The big companies are usually not as accommodating to that as you guys are, And so when you're thinking about how do I sell these benefits that I provide, or I don't have any benefits, it's like that's a benefit right there where we're a smaller company and we care more about your personal life and your family and your priorities there. And we're going to accommodate you when stuff like that happens, to an extent. But that's absolutely something to highlight, and it does keep people around. So thank you guys so much for sharing. What other wins do we have going on today?
I think, Sean, you maybe had started earlier or something.
Yeah, so a win for me is, Travis went and got married on me. So now I missed him for a full week. So now that he's back, that's a win. Plus, before he left, he gave me a clear picture for my office manager, what his duties are. So we implemented that this week, and it's been rough for him, but we're making her through it. So that's a win for me, and I'm sure there's more. I just don't want to dig too deep.
No, thanks for sharing, Sean. We appreciate that. And yeah, it's true. Travis did get married. We didn't announce it here, but he's a married man. So if you missed him last week, that's where he was at.
And we all got to attend and see, and it was absolutely lovely. And ironically, his wife used to work for Redmond Growth. She went back to school and is going to be, I think, an accountant. But she is near and dear to all of our hearts. Sorry, I'm working from home today. You guys are meeting Jasper. But we're very happy for Travis and Abby. And if you guys haven't given him a congratulations, do so.
Well, thank you guys.
What other wins are we having today, guys? We love hearing all of them.
I have a quick kind of personal win, but it's business related. So I'm Riley's office manager. I come and take notes for him because he's a busy man. But I'm going back to college for my master's degree in marketing analytics. So the psychology of the buyer to help build the brand. So I'm really excited about that. And Riley's really accommodating, so I won't be too stressed.
Yes.
That's
That
awesome.
is so exciting for both you and the business. I'm sure it's a nerve-wracking time, but exciting time. Awesome. Okay, guys, well, let's get into it. What questions do you guys have today? You know, what caused you to jump on this group call? What are you wanting to learn? Or what maybe did you learn this week that you want somebody else to learn before they make the same mistake? You know, this is the most powerful hour of the week because you've got so much wealth to tap into with all these clients and coaches. So there's no rhyme or reason if you just want to unmute and tell us what's going on and what questions you have. If you can't unmute, put it in the chat. Going once. I just can't believe that nobody has questions.
Yeah, I don't think we've run into this in a while. Well, keep thinking. If not, I've got something that we might
I got a question.
chat about.
Tell
Go
us,
ahead.
Fernando.
So this week or sometime next week, we're gonna hire a dispatcher, but there's like 4 different ones, and they're all like really good. They all have great experience. So like I guess what does it come down to if they all kind of have the similar experience? They all seem pretty well-rounded in what they do. I guess you guys got any pointers that helped you guys? I know it's just not just a dispatcher, but I guess what do you do when they all have about the same amount of experience and they all seem like really good candidates?
Yeah,
For me,
I see Rick. You were right in there, and then Pete, go for it.
So good.
Well, one thing that we done that actually Redmond Grove told us about is we love the ride along, and you know we talked about it with technicians, you know, and so we've actually on the ones that we tried to train. We've actually taken and said, hey, what we're going to do is just have you come in the office for 3 or 4 hours. And I think it was Nicole said, you know, you may have somebody that they smack their gum and that is a deal breaker, or they something that is just is going to drive you crazy. And so instead of hiring and the other 3 are out, maybe do a ride along. And we've done a ride along with an electrician one time, and and he thought he was going to ride around and point fingers, and Scott sent him in an attic, and he come out of an attic and he's like, hey, we need to regroup. And he quit right there after about an hour and 45 minutes in the ride along, you know. So we've done a ride along with even our office manager that we have now is, man, she is a godsend. So I think the ride along, even in the office right there, how they answer the phone, you know, do they have empathy with the client, whatever, you know, you can tell how they're going to answer the phone in 3 or 4 hours, and hey, we're going to pay you for this half a day. That's been good for us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you do?
Me.
How would you kind of do the ride along for like the office? Kind of just tell them, hey, you
What?
know, this is.
Yeah. What we did was we just said, hey, you know, if they've got a job, it's kind of difficult, you know, maybe, hey, can you come in for 3 or 4 hours, you know, and go from there. That's what we did was we said, hey, we're going to pay you to come in for 3 or 4 hours. You're going to answer the phone, you know, kind of get it, you know, of course you won't get the whole experience because they don't know the whole business, but them answering the phones and, you know, do they have, you know, quirks or ticks that, you know, you don't feel like you can handle, or, you know, like one deal, our office manager's like, she's like, and I hate to say it, but she's like, she stunk so bad, you know, and so it was like, you know, they're working side by side, you know, so that helped us, you know, hey, come in, answer a phone call or two, see how it happens. Can they even get you know, we use Service Titan. So, man, can they get the hang of it within a certain amount of time? You know?
Okay.
Yep. I think too, in that case, it helps to have a script, which we're advocates for, you know, having that outline or framework for how people answer the phones in the office admin role. Or who was it? Sean had just shared too that with an office admin, even when you want to hire them, having a bit of a checklist or a process that they can follow through. Fernando, I'm not sure your coach is, but ask them for that list to be able to get some of those office responsibilities down. And then you can see how they start to work within that framework, if they can follow the process, you know, and if they ask, you know, decent questions. But I really love that feedback of doing the shadow or the ride along, as he calls it. I think, Pete, did you have something you wanted to add in that as well?
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yes. So for us, I think culture and how they fit into that realm, their personality, which one is able to set themselves apart for that. Their communication skills are huge in that position, and how do they hold themselves, their presence, and you know, it's very important for them to be your face of the company. So if they're the voice and face, they have to be able to present themselves in that manner. So however you're expecting.
Yeah, don't overthink it, Fernando. Like, your main goal is to get them in and to actually see, do they show up on time? Do they look presentable? Are they paying attention? Are they taking notes? Are they asking good questions? You know, are they maintaining that kind of bubbly professional personality? Because it's easy to do that in a 30-minute interview, but it's hard to do that over the course of a day if that's not your standard, you know? And so don't overthink it. And you can totally, like, a lot of times I get clients out ask, like, well, is this an interview or do I need to pay them? And you could totally pay them for a day's work if you feel inclined to. You can also have them there for a couple of hours and call it an extended interview. It's not like you're making them do a ton of labor, you know? So don't overthink it. You're just really trying to see, is this somebody who we would want in our company? Is this somebody who we could spend a couple hours with and not be annoyed? You know, they're able to maintain that professionalism. Yeah. Maria, I see your hand up. Give us some feedback.
Hi, I'm going to go from the other side of things since I am the office manager. But the something that I think is important too is when you're doing the ride-alongs or like where they work for part of the day, it's important to show them like your true colors of like how the business runs, what your expectations are, because you want them to also make the decision of like, I want to be here, and you want to rule out anyone that's going to leave in a short amount of time. You don't want to have to go through this all over again. So like set your standards of what they actually are, instead of like, oh, it's fun and happy and bubbly all the time. Like, yeah, you're going to get spam calls. You're going to get this. You're going to have to deal with this. Like, this is the issue of the job, you know, because you want them to want to be there and want to stay. And then you can roll out some people that are just kind of meh.
That's great feedback. Bryce, do you want to say what your shadow day at Redmond Growth was? I think that was back when we would have somebody do around 200 cold calls on their shadow day, and we just stuck them in there and said smile and dial, and gave them pretty like a script and a list and said get it, and that would weed out people very quickly. It would keep people who had the tenacity and the mindset and who really wanted it, because that's not fun. From people both Travis, Bryce, and I have all been there, and we can tell you it's not fun.
Yeah, I actually didn't receive the shadow day like that. I think we were transitioning around that time. I did have the shadow day, and I remember from that shadowing a couple of your meetings and thinking, wow, this lady is a wizard. She's able to speak a full conversation at the same time as doing all this stuff on the screen. Like, they can't see what's happening here, but
all my secrets, Bryce.
No.
Oh gosh.
But it is true. Yeah, you get to shadow and actually meet the people, and you know, there's the real feedback from your team if you listen to it. Can be really important, and it also builds the loyalty of the team because they feel like they have a part in shaping the future team that comes in too. So you can save yourself a lot of bad apples by not bringing somebody fully on into a W-2 before giving them an offer. That's great stuff, though.
Yes. What other questions do we have today, guys?
I have a question.
Come on.
So my business is a remodel business, and only one thing I'm having a few issues, but one of them is trying to get the right process for estimates. Because, you know, if I had like if I was wearing a house or if I was framing a new house, it would be easy. I could get my my lists and my pricing accurate. But when I'm doing a remodel, it's so hard to price accurately on what man hours are going to take and what material I'm going to use, because oftentimes when you open the wall, you find out more than you anticipated, or certain things take longer than you anticipated because of the fact that they're, you know, unforeseen, or you don't know what's in the wall, or maybe the the attachment, or whatever the scenario is. So is there any system or something a person can make? I know I've never asked Travis this, so maybe that's something I should ask, but maybe there's a remodel company here that could help out with that.
Sean, is the question how to better like estimate or anticipate those things, or is it like how to handle those things when they come so that it's not like coming out of your profit?
Yes, yeah, and I ran into it where it didn't matter what wasn't able to account for it. So we came into an issue. So there was a 6-inch wall. I bid for a 6-inch wall for saw cutting, and it ended up being an 8-inch wall because you couldn't verify because of the framing. So that meant I need a chainsaw to do the concrete cutting. So that was another $1,000 and then a bunch more labor. Well, I tried to pass that on to the customer, but they didn't. They said, no, that's what you gave us an estimate. You could have verified that. Well, when you estimate, you don't want to open their walls.
Yeah, I'm seeing hands going up, Sean, because I know everybody has dealt with this before. And before I kind of hand the mic over to some clients to give you feedback, the main thing that has to be done here is we have to have a change order policy, and we have to go over it with the customers before we start the job. And that doesn't mean that we hand it to them and we have it sign it. It means we need to go over it in detail, because there's different types of change orders, and we have to explain to them how we handle each one. You know, there's the change order where it's something unforeseen. I couldn't anticipate it. They couldn't anticipate it. So what do we do when we run into that? And we explain that to the customer. We're going to stop the job. We're going to re-estimate it. We're going to give you the new price, new timeline, explain all the options. And before we move forward, we're going to have an agreed upon, signed new game plan. If it's we effed up, like if somebody on your team effed up, you know, that's the only time that it should affect your profit, is if you effed up. And you're going to let the customer know that, hey, if we F up, if it's something on us that causes a change, we're going to let you know what it is, what the new timeline is, and we're going to take care of it on us. Now, the other type of change order would be the customer changing the scope of work in any way. In that, we usually like to have a fee that we charge. And what that fee covers is you taking the time to draw up the new estimate, new timeline, pushing back other jobs in order to accommodate their change that they didn't communicate before the job. Now, we're not going to charge somebody a fee for something that's unforeseen, like the situation that you just dealt with the 6-inch wall versus an 8-inch. They couldn't see it, you couldn't see it. But that doesn't mean that it should come out of your profit. But customers are going to be a lot more understanding when those things happen if we set expectations at the beginning of the job. If we are not setting those expectations and communicating to them that there's more than likely going to be something that we can't see, that's how we handle it, you are going to get people who are upset. I'm not saying that a change order policy is going to solve all of it, but it definitely, for a lot of clients, it solves a lot of these issues. Setting expectations, having it signed, and then holding people accountable to it. It looks like Diligent Bryce over here has been throwing in that link. We have the change order policies link in the chat. You can make a copy of it. Bryce, if you want to share your screen and just show people how to make a copy real quick for those of us who are not savvy in that area. We also threw in the working agreement, which you can add the change order policy to your working agreement. But we encourage definitely having both. And then he also attached a document about how to explain estimates, where we're really setting expectations that there's no way that I, as the contractor, or you as the owner, can see everything that's going to need to be done when we do this initial estimate. So Sean, if you don't have these 3 things, I'd be making copies of it now. We can see Bryce, he goes up to file, clicks make a copy, renames it, and then hits save. And then you have your copy that you can edit.
Okay.
Chris, I see your hand up. What feedback do you have, or comments, concerns, grievances?
Oh, no, just on the remodel. I mean, you run into that all the time. I mean, I tell people, I probably lose jobs, but I explain with people, like, whenever I see something that I account for the unknown to a point. So something like that, now you know, like, hey, a wall, like, could you have measured, like, I don't know how thick this wall is, or was there a door, blah, blah, blah. And, so whenever I'm walking them through, or like items like that, I do let them know, hey, I'm gonna give you this estimate price, and it's an estimate, it's not a quote. So that goes into that. But I'm gonna give you a price for this, but I've done this before and I've run into these problems. So I'm gonna put a buffer on it. I'm gonna, instead of 1,000, I'm gonna say 2,000 on this. Now, if we don't have to do those things, and it just shows, hey, you're being upfront with them. You have experience, you know what you're doing. You've dealt with this before. And I explain to people, that, hey, other contractors, they'll just give you the lowest price, and they may or may not know those things. And if they do know those things and don't speak up about it, that's not a good thing. And if they don't know about it, then they may not be as experienced as you need them to be. Either way, say, hey, look, if we need to do more, like it's gonna be more. And of course, having a policy with them and stuff and going over that, but just mentioning it to them and kind of having like other than a written document, having some kind of verbal agreement, like, hey, we went over this or we did discuss this, but I walked out on a job just a few weeks ago because I gave a guy an estimate on some floor tile work, replacing tile, and what he described it to me as and what we usually do are two completely different things. And I said, hey, immediately when the scope changed, I said, hey, we need to reevaluate this, and we need to make a decision. And it was just a little small repair job, like $600. And I said, hey, this is $1,000. And all he kept saying was, I'll work with you. I'll work with you. And I kept trying to explain to him, I'm not looking for someone to work with me. I'm looking for somebody, like I'm looking to give a price and for it to be accepted before we go any further. And he wouldn't do it. I said, well, let's pack up our stuff and roll. You got 8 tiles knocked up for free. Have a good day.
Yeah.
It's just not worth the time.
Great feedback where it's like, hey, we got to set expectations before the job. And Sean, you've now got some great tools to do that. Talk with your coach if you need them edited or have any questions. But for setting those expectations, it's going to cause people to really understand what is going to happen in the project and how we handle it. It's going to make it a lot easier. And then if somebody is from the get-go, like, hey, you're giving me this estimate, I'm not spending a dime over it. If they're using language like that, I would probably walk away from that job, because as all of you contractors know, that's just not the way construction works. You're going to get into the project and the scope is going to change. There's no way that it's going to go exactly as we predict. And so that is a great kind of vetting out. If you have a customer that's acting that way from the get-go, not worth it. Replace it with somebody else. Jason, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I want to rewind just a little bit, going back to the estimates and to the salesperson. Do any of you guys send or have your salesperson watch any kind of tutorial or anything like that about salesmanship? I mean, the guy who's doing my estimates was a worker. He's done all these things and he's kind of moved into going out and doing these estimates. And I think he's doing a really good job, but I just think he may be a little green on. I was just looking through the explaining estimates thing, and just wondering, is there anything that you guys do for your salesmen or your estimators just to give them a little bit more salesmanship, or is there any online classes or anything like that you would suggest? Everyone's just have him go out there. I think he's doing a good job. I mean, I really do, but just trying to give him just a little bit more of an edge. But I think this explaining estimates will be a good little tool for him to look at as well.
Our 10-step sales process is a great one to go through. Now, what I will say, Jason, I wouldn't necessarily recommend ever giving somebody like a book to read or course to go through or anything like that, because they're not going to. They don't want to. Most of the time, people who are, they didn't like school don't want to go back to school, so don't do that. What I think is really helpful is to make it super simple. Every single week have something that we're working on, and you can go off of the 10-step sales process to do that. Like, okay, this week what we're going to be working on is we're going to be working on making sure that all appointments are within the 72-hour rule. That's what we're working on this week. And then once we feel good about that, we're doing a good job with that. What we're going to work on this week is making sure that we are reviewing all estimates in person. And then we feel good about that. The next week, what we're going to work on is making sure that we're building value right before we go over price. So we're going to get the one sheet out. We're going to role play through it. We're going to talk about our benefits. That's going to be the more tangible way. And then you just want to make sure that you have all of those things written down. You have the process written down that they can reference to. But that's kind of the ongoing training that you'd be looking at, is every week sitting down with them and saying, what are we going to focus on this week?
Yeah. Where can I find that? Is that in the 10-step process? Is that in the what do you want to call it? The life? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I would add to that too, Jason. You can incorporate the videos that you're using with the course portal. You're watching some of those. You can incorporate that every once in a while too. Nicole said, just, they won't go through a straight course, and that's
right.
Probably accurate. But if you want to say, hey, this is really well explained in this video, let me show it to you, then great. Use the RGC portal to do some of that training too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You can absolutely assign specific videos, and then here you review it with them that they did.
He's a pretty key player for us, so I just want to give him a little bit of an edge on all this. Kind of a step ahead on this. Just I want him to be learning the same as me, type of deal. On going through with this, so I'll go through that 10-step process.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it underneath the burning fires for you, so it's prominent on the agenda.
Nice. What other questions do we have this morning? Oh, sorry. I meant to say before that, as we transition off of that, there was a season maybe a month or two ago where for like a month straight, every call we had came back to the same topic of expectations, setting proper expectations up front. And that's where this question kind of comes back around to again. I can't remember who initially asked it, but yeah, proper expectation setting with customers. When you tell them up front, hey, this is how we work, that makes the conversation, if it ever has to come back up later, so much more reasonable and manageable as well. Just setting that expectation of, hey, we do this a lot. We are the experts coming in, so we kind of know the things to anticipate. Let me tell you a few things. Takes maybe a couple minutes longer, but it saves us a lot of headache later down the road. So,
Travis, do you have that sheet that we put together that we send to clients with all the horizontal lines on it?
Yes.
If you want, you could just put that in the chat for these guys too, because that when we send that out to the clients, it shows our entire process, and it shows the inspiration phase all the way down to estimate phase, then a subcontractor review, then contract. And so it breaks all that out, so the client is familiar with our process when they get the estimate.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got to put there now.
Any other itching questions you guys have this morning? Good stuff. Going once. No, I won't do that whole spiel. Well, cool. If you guys don't have any other questions, we don't need to drag out and fill the time if it doesn't need it. So what we'd love to have you do is one of two things. Either take this and extra 15 minutes here and get on with what you need to for the day, or use this opportunity to take care of some of the stuff that's on the agenda that you're working on with your coach. You got an extra 15 minutes to really knock some of that stuff out. We'd love to give you that opportunity to do it. So we'll end it same way we always do. We really appreciate you guys being here this morning and tuning in. If you have other questions, of course, always reach out to your coach, but really appreciate you guys being here. So we'll have everybody unmute. We'll do growth on 3 and then launch into the last bit of the week here. So growth on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Growth!